Level, man.
Shut a goddamn broadcast, man. We go.
Hey, speaking of, yeah, that's why we're going to get into this Joe Budden bag. Joe Budden, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, I think, podcasts, especially in our culture of hip hop and especially around what we know, one of the biggest, if not behind Joe Rogan. A huge podcaster. Had a show with two of his buddies, I would say, Rory and Mal, for let's say 6-7 years.
That's a long ass time.
6-7 years they've been doing this podcast, and recently this has gone to shit. Joe has I mean, you can give more details about it. I don't know too much, and then I give my 2 cents, but you can get more details about it and then tell what happened. Details about the backstory and stuff, because everybody may not know.
Yeah. Long story short, you know what I mean? Joe Budden podcast. Everybody know about the Joe Budden podcast, I would assume. If you don't, I'm pretty sure you probably heard about it. You know, long standing. Came out at a time where you can make the argument that podcast wasn't even really busting like
not
that.
At all. Not even remotely as popular as now. He has been a huge pioneer in making podcasts monetizable, more popular, and open for people to do it.
Yeah. Go ahead. Long story short, you know what I mean? For like the last couple of months, it's been like a dispute between Joe, obviously, and Rory and Mal, which are his two co-hosts on the Joe Budden and Rory and Mal show, or Joe Budden podcast with Rory and Mal. I don't want to butcher it.
Now, not to hold, but this is the Joe Budden podcast with Rory and Mal.
Yes, with Rory and Mal.
That's how it started. Because Joe obviously had the bigger name just from having a background in entertainment and being on TV shows, things like that. So he started a podcast, put his two buddies on, and they got to rock it.
Yeah. So long story short, you know, once they started, you know, creating like real revenue, real
millions
money,
of dollars,
you know what I mean, like seeing deals and
sponsorships, partnerships, ownerships, all that good stuff.
Yeah, you know, he basically they wanted to start getting shit on paper. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a diss, you know what I mean? It was like, yo, let's just put it on paper. So, you know, we're friends. We all came in this shit together and we're friends. So let's just have something that legally binds us. You know what I mean? Which is common business practice. So they started. Chuck has told me Chuck has asked me before to put something on paper, which is fine. You know what I mean? Like, those are conversations you should have.
It's all for the betterment of moving forward.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And if you're uncomfortable like that, then I definitely don't even want to do business with you.
Do it.
Yeah, I'm cool. Like, I'm cool on that. If you can't do proper business, then I'm kind of cool on that, bro.
Yeah. But with that being said, you know what I mean? And I can just, going back to what me and you going through that, not going through that, but talking about that. And we not even on that level. So I can just imagine how, you know, what it's
like. A lot going on when it's millions of dollars on the table.
Yeah, when it's when it's millions of dollars.
Multiple millions.
So long story short, though, it became a situation where, you know, they wanted to make it clear that, you know, they weren't his employees. They were percentage partners, percentage-based partners. And now, if you don't know what a percentage-based partner is, let's say you own something, right? And you got some people that come in, right? And they make 20% off of everything that you guys' project does, right? That's percentage based. 20%, no matter what it is, no matter if it's $20, $20,000, $20 million, they get 20% of that.
Yep.
You feel me? And they wanted to see the books, which was in their rights. You know what I mean? They want to see the books, because how can they know what's their percentage if they don't see the books? They don't know if they getting jerked. They don't know if they not getting paid. You know what I mean? So yada, yada, yada. And that shit kind of that's really what it boiled down to. They wanted to see the books. Joe was giving them nasty, nasty energy. And they was like, you know what? We good. You know what I mean? And it's man, business is nasty, sometimes.
Yeah, especially
you know
when you're doing it with people that are friends that you know have relationships with, that you hang out with outside of just work. A lot of people go to 9 to 5, and even if you go to, even if you go to just a 9 to 5 or a corporate or office job, even some things you create relationships with people outside of the workplace. You know what I mean? But when you're actually friends with the people that you actually work with, it gets even trickier, right? So, you know, Joe doing a lot for the show, bringing it and starting it, and then having built it with his friends over a period of time, you know, things may have changed. Where we were when we started and where we are now are not the same.
And you know, in Rory and Mal, they was making it clear. They was like, yo, like, this, you know, this isn't about money. And I was reading like a lot of the comments like, well, you know, if it's not about money, then why are we here? Let's be honest. It's about money, but it ain't the only thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because let's be honest. It's not only about money. It's definitely about principle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially if y'all friends, and it's just the right thing to do.
Yeah, moving forward. Okay, so if we start to build something and something that we build grows,
Exactly.
even if you were more popular or had a little bit more to do with in the beginning, and we all put somewhat equal sweat equity into this over a number of years, it should be more of a partnership than employer. That's what I think that they were trying to make. And Joe's like, nah, I'm not really on that, because once that happens, then it's different discussions. Now you see the books, you may get a different percentage, you know more things, and you take on more responsibilities than you did before. And maybe Joe didn't want to give away some of those responsibilities, and maybe he didn't want to give away certain percentages or amounts of money. I don't know, but that's what it seems the problem was. The miscommunication and the rift began.
Yeah, that's exactly.
And then
go ahead.
So Joe
did his own joint.
Starts another podcast with two other friends.
Yeah. Trying to make it seem like he can put any two people in those seats and it can pop.
For whatever reason, he starts a podcast with two other friends, waiting for Mal and Rory to return. Mal and Rory do not return, and then he fires them on air and says, "Okay, now you just employees. It's over with."
Now they actually came back and did one or two shows after they originally took a break from the podcast.
Okay,
they came back and did one or two shows. But if you've been following the Joe Budden, personally, I watch it in spurts, because for me it's too long. That shit be like 3 hours long. You know what I mean? Like, it's too much. Nigga, I can't even watch the Titanic, my G. You know what I mean? I can barely watch The Godfather. And The Godfather, one of my favorite movies of all time.
Facts.
But you know what I mean? But that's just too long for me to hear motherfuckers talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck what they talk about. It's just too long. But long story short, though, you can tell that the energy was different.
Yeah, very.
Chemistry wasn't the same.
The jokes weren't the same. The jokes were a little more
seems a little bit more
sincere.
Real.
Like, when you joke with your homie, like, nah, I'll really slap you. Like, I'll really slap you.
Like for real.
I'll slap the shit out you for real. Like, chill, don't play like that.
It was like that.
So it was a very tense energy amongst them where it's not friends. It's like, it can really go there.
That's Cap Slim, but I'm gonna let you talk.
It can really go there. So, I mean, and I've heard different responses from different people. Now, Kevin Hart had a very strong-hearted response. He went hard on Joe Budden. He said Joe Budden has had a lot of opinions and said a lot about what I've had going on in my life. And finally, we see what type of dude Joe Budden really is. Joe Budden created a toxic work environment. You know what I'm saying? And these are words of Kevin Hart, where he's saying he's a egotistical control freak. Yeah. Like, aren't you supposed to build something with your friends? He said, wealth is to be shared, not owned. You know what I mean? So he's like, he went hard on Joe, and Joe said, and to say that, like, now he creates a new podcast with these two other friends. And what situation are they put in? Their situation going in knowing that Joe's the owner, he's the boss, it stops with him, end all be all, you only get this much percentage, blah, blah, blah. So Kevin Hart was extremely critical of Joe and saying that Rory and Mal were amazing, and pretty much trying to recruit them, I guess, for his, production company or, network or something like that. But Kevin Hart really went hard on Joe, as a lot of people are now, as it's coming out that Rory and Mal were percentage owners. They were not salary players. And that seeing the books on the company that you work for, if you are making a percentage, is kind of, okay. It makes sense.
Business can be so nasty.
And that's why, and that's why you have to be upfront. That's why you have to have agreements, paperwork, and stuff ahead of time, so that those things, when they come to a head, it's nothing to talk about.
Yeah,
this is what it is, bro. So if you don't like that, then what do you want me to do? This is what it is. This is what we agreed to. Now, if you want to change that, let's talk about changing
Let's come to the table together and say, yo, we should probably do this, or we should probably do that, or whatever the case might be. You know what I mean? But if it's clear that we're percentage-based partners, bro, you gotta see the books, bro. I gotta know what's coming in, B. You know what I mean?
Even if it's not I disrespecting you or I don't trust you. Let's say, okay, I'm making 20% of whatever you're making, right? And I want to go buy a new house. Am I going to have enough money to buy a new house? What if I want to shop? How much money do I think I have? I got to know how much percentages of the things that are coming in as projections and things to make a purchase of something like that. So even if I was doing that, and I asked you and I wanted, and you didn't give me the information, that's kind of shady. Not even shady. It's like, it will cause concern for me. Like, why won't you give me that information? That's not information that you should hold if I'm a percentage partner in this business.
Yeah, because I see Slim saying, he said Joe did show the books eventually. Yeah, he did show the books, but one of the things we didn't bring up is that when he showed them the books, they noticed it was a $400,000 mistake in the books.
I didn't even know that. I didn't hear about that.
That $400K was magically not there. You know what I mean?
Okay. So then what?
And then how?
And then how? So it's not one thing.
Yeah, it's a
definitely not
combination.
one
It's a
thing.
combination.
It's a combination of a multitude of things. Working hard with a group of friends over some years, maybe feeling like an agreement should be changed, or some things should be changed, or even some things just should be more explained, and then one part feeling they shouldn't.
Yeah, I feel
and
like
then it's the end of that.
One thing I do agree with Kevin Hart is work environment, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
very
because at this point, you Joe Budden, right? At this point, you Joe Budden, you already got a cult following for your show.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you grew up with your friends, right? But it's not the Joe Budden, Rory and Mal podcast.
Yeah.
It literally says the Joe Budden podcast with Rory and Mal. So that tells you alone that just Joe Budden shit, he just has his guys on it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So as a leader, as it being your show, you need to create a more feasible working environment for your partners, for your friends, and everybody surrounding them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because they gonna feed off your energy, bro.
Absolutely.
Because you are the leader. You know what I mean? Like, you